Well, welcome everyone. My name is Diane, and I will be your moderator this evening for our webinar, Money and Your Marriage, presented by Jay and Laura Laffoon. Hi, Jay and Laura.
Hola.
Hi, gang.
Well, great. We're so glad that you're all here with us tonight. And I just want to kind of get you a little comfortable with your GoToWebinar control panel. First of all, for those of you who are logged onto your computers, you should be able to see Jay and Laura on their webcams on your GoToWebinar viewer. So,
Sorry about that.
Yeah. So if all you're seeing is the Money and Your Marriage slide and you don't see Jay and Laura, you can make that adjustment on the top left of your GoToWebinar viewer. There's a place where it says webcams, and you should be able to see them there. So just a show of hands, everybody that's here, there's a place to raise your hand over on your GoToWebinar control panel. Raise your hand.
Where's that? Oh, I see the little hand.
You see the little hand? Okay, so over on your panel, raise your hand if you do see Jay and Laura. We want to make sure you're seeing them. So, oh, look at the hands. Thanks, Sherry, Renee, Janelle, Kevin. Thank you guys for raising your hand.
I still don't see the hand.
Laura, do you see where it says the number of attendees out of 101? It's right below that.
Mine says audio right below that.
Oh, wow. Well,
we don't need
sorry
you
about
guys
your
to
bad
raise
luck.
your hands. We can talk to you guys.
Well, here, I do have a question.
Sure.
Wondering how many, maybe a raise of hands now about how many can't see us.
Oh, that's a good idea. Let me put everybody's hands down. If you cannot see us, raise your hand or type in the question box there. You can type, and okay, I do see a couple of people here. Linda and Ashley have said that we cannot see you. Okay, just so you can get to where you can see them, first of all, you cannot be in full screen viewer mode. Your viewer has to not be in full screen. It has to be just a part of the screen, and to do that, you click on the little doodad up in the top left of your viewer. That would undo full screen where it says Zoom. Is it Zoom?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Mine's at 91%.
Right. There's a place that says full screen, so make sure full screen is not clicked. And then next to that Zoom is a place that says webcams. Make sure it doesn't say hide webcams. Make sure that your webcam position is either top left, bottom right. Is that helping you folks? Ashley and Linda and anybody that can't see, can you type in? Oh, it's working, Ashley says. Good, good, good. Okay. So I'm going to put everybody's hand down once again, and I'm just going to ask, is there anybody who cannot see Jay and Laura on their webcams there? I think we're getting everybody covered.
I'll answer a question while we're working through this too. Some of you might be saying, are you guys even in the same room? Are you in the same state? Are you in the same continent? We are in the same house. It's just with we're just getting new with these webinars, and we've got separate microphones that if we're too close together, they give feedback. So we're working on that. We're going to fix it. We're going to make it better. But tonight I'm in our library, as you can see, and Laura's in our family room with our wonderful little fake tree behind her.
Even if we don't have microphones on, if we get too close, we get feedback.
Okay, that's
Isn't that the truth?
I'm going to give some feedback.
I also want to apologize. I will be muting myself from time to time. I am fending off. I'm actually recovering from either really bad bronchitis or maybe walking pneumonia. So occasionally I will.
Oh, you just like the button.
Yes, so thank you all for being patient last week and flowing with this reschedule. It would have not been pretty for him to have been on a webcam last week.
No.
It would not have been good.
We still have a couple of folks who can't see you guys.
Well, why don't we get started, Diane?
We still
We
have a
have
couple
people who can't see us.
Right. So I'm not sure what to tell you. If you're not on a computer, if you're on a phone or on a iPad or something like that, I'm not sure you'll see the webcams. We will have the webcams on the recording, so you'll be able to see them there. But
Diane, one other thing that might work
sure
is on the GoToWebinar control panel.
Uh-huh.
I actually had to turn my oh, that's so people could see me. I'm not very technological, so why don't I just shut up right
that
now?
would be everybody's webcam to turn on themselves. Yeah, we don't want to see everybody tonight, just by surprise, huh?
Well, we'll keep you engaged with our witty conversation. So
Yeah.
even if you can't see us, it should be good.
Well, you've told everybody where you guys are. I'm just curious to see where everybody else is. So if you could type in that question box and let us know where you're coming from, what city, what state, just so we can see who we've got here tonight. We've got a Midland, Michigan with Renee, Lansing, Michigan, a Salisbury, Maryland. Sarah's from Salisbury. Shanine, I hope I'm saying that right. Shanine is from Delaware. Another Lansing, Michigan. Charlene's asking, does it matter that we don't have a webcam? No, it should not matter. It should just be on their end. Linda from New Mexico. Daryl and Kathy from Washington. Charlene from North Carolina.
Hi, Daryl and Kathy. Sorry, we know them.
Oh, okay. Let's see. New Jersey. We've got Oakdale, California. Boiling Springs, Pennsylvania. We've got some great places here. Branson, Missouri. Oh, and Connie says hi to Diane, too. Well, that's nice. Hi, Connie. Appreciate it.
Connie who?
Connie Day. It says Connie Day. Yeah.
I have a question. Should we be able to see their comments or questions or anything?
In the question box, not in the chat box, but in the question box. Actually, you
like, should we have been able to see all those comments? Because I didn't see anything.
No, actually, I don't think you guys can because you're not set up to see those. Sorry. That's why I've got to field the questions for you. So,
that's fine. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something.
Sure. Well, I think we're ready to jump in. I think we're ready to go. So,
well, we will jump in. The reason that we chose this specific topic to talk about is because in a Facebook post recently we asked what are the top things that cause stress in your marriage, and over half of the answers were about money. So we thought, let's do a webinar on money, give them some tips and tools or some ideas for how to make money work for your marriage, how to manage money in your marriage, because really what we want to give you is practical advice. We are doing these webinars for you. Our goal is to help you, and so really that's what we want to do tonight. So we're going to dive right into making money work for you, money in your marriage, and the first tip that we have for making money work for you in your marriage is to tackle money as a team. Oh. Tackle it as a team. It has to be something that you do together. And here's the reality, and we know this from personal experience, that one of you is going to be better at understanding money than the other one. For us, it's Jay. I understand how to spend money. I got that one covered.
In large amounts.
Exactly. But he understands all of the aspects of money. So that really, for us, we had to tackle it as a team.
Right. And it's going to require patience on the part of the person who gets money as you deal with your spouse who may not get money. Now, for some of you, you both get money and you're just looking at how to fine tune. And for some of you on here, neither one of you get money. Now, if that's the case for you, if neither one of you are good with money, we can't tell you how much we would recommend you get involved with Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University. It's named that for a reason, Financial Peace University, because it really is a great tool to help you. But if one of you is good and one isn't, then you've got some great steps ahead. When we got married, when I met Laura on July 4th, 1984, she had been out of college for 6 weeks. She had a great job, and in those 6 weeks, she had bounced 14 checks.
I said I knew how to spend money.
With a great job coming out of college. And so I knew right away that I had some challenges on my hands. But it has been 30 wonderful years, with a lot of ups and downs, got to be honest. Our 10-year anniversary, I had turned over the money running of the house to her, and she had put us in credit card debt. That was my 10th. That was the 10th anniversary gift that I got, was $2,000 worth of credit card debt back in 1994. So,
oh yeah, 94.
10 years would be 94, honey.
That right.
She's really not very good with numbers.
Girls don't do the numbers very well, but computers go a long way to help.
Right. I am here to tell you that now Laura runs the books not only for our family and our family budget, but also for Laugh Media, which is what our S Corp that we run our intellectual property through, like our books and our tapes. So it is possible for the one who doesn't get money to learn, but it does take a lot of time. And the bottom line is you've got to tackle it together. And some people are like, well, gee, you know, that's not very efficient. I can be doing this while he's paying the bills or she's paying the bills. Eventually, you've got to learn this stuff together, and you both have to be involved with the money. Because what would have happened if 10 years into our marriage I was in a car accident and died? Laura would have been clueless. So you have to work together. So that is...
That's not a very nice word.
What?
Clueless
What?
isn't a very nice word.
Honey, how would you describe the way you were with money?
Clueless.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
But if you had
Bottom
died
line.
10 years into our marriage, I would have found some other hot rich man to marry.
Oh, well, I'm neither hot nor rich, but thank you for trying. So anyway, you've got to tackle it as a team, and this requires time and effort and sometimes some painful conversations. I can't tell you some of the painful conversations that Laura and I had about money. They were not done in quiet tones. They were done in loud tones with, what in the world are you thinking?
And lots of laughter, of course.
Yeah, that was laughter. But the other issue that we had, and we had to come together as a team, is that Laura loved to spend money on little things. I used to call it cheap junk, basically. And I always wanted to save for something big. And so we struggled with that as well. You know, I wanted something big, like a brand new driver for my golf bag. She wanted little knickknacks around the house. And we had to come up with that budget. So, number one, tackle money as a team. The second, and here's the deal, and Diane, help me out here, okay? We want their questions, okay? So let's take a second right now and back up and see, do you have any questions about tackling this whole finance thing as a team?
If you do have a question,
Go ahead and write
yeah, type it in that question box that's right there in your GoToWebinar panel where you told us where you're from. Go ahead and type it there, and I will relay your question to Jay and Laura.
Are some of you maybe a little afraid to discuss it with your spouse?
Or we could just wait to talk about it. We could ask questions at the end.
Sure.
Yeah. That sounds
however it works. If they're...
Well, right now we don't have any questions, so yeah. Let's
All right. Well, now the second one is going to be a toughie for a lot of you. It's give generously. And some of you might be saying, okay, what? We're having trouble making ends meet, and you're telling us to give generously? Yes, we are.
When this was even before we got married. Of course, Jay just told you about the summer that we met, and I had bounced 14 checks, and you know it was a tough summer. We went ahead and pooled our money then. We went ahead and opened a joint checking account because we knew that we were going to get married later in the year, and so we pooled our money together.
I wanted at least to have a little bit of her money left.
And Jay began to school me, teach me, whatever word you want to use, in how to manage money. I had just educate. That's a good idea. That's a good word. I had just never been taught. That's all it was. And I'd been taught how to spend it, but not budget and manage and stuff. So I can remember the first time we sat down to write bills together. He said, okay, you know, he said, right off the top, we need to write out our tithe check. And I'm like, well, okay, you know, I grew up going to church and putting $1 in the offering plate every Sunday. So I was like, well, how much do we write? And he said, well, we make about, I don't know.
$3,000. We make $3,000 a month.
So
together.
Here's what you need to write. You need $3,000 a month together. So you need to write a check for $300 to the church. And I went, you mean 30, right? And he's like, no, 300. That's what we give. I'm like, $300? We need a washing machine. We could buy that. We don't have that. We could use a dryer. We could get a refrigerator. $300 is a lot of money. He's like, that's right. But we write that right off the top. That's part of giving generously. And he quoted a scripture, and I want to make sure I get it right. So I'm going to look.
I wasn't preaching.
Right here. No,
I wasn't preaching. But we're Jesus followers, and we believe that Scripture tells us exactly how we're supposed to live. So go ahead, honey.
Well, yeah. Let me finish what I'm talking about. It's a verse that we have learned to live by, and I have seen over many, many years how this has worked. Luke 6:38, give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. And we have really seen over 30 years of marriage how the first thing right off the top is that giving generously, whether it's to your church or to charities, ministries, however you want to do that, but really giving that money generously, and it will be given back to you.
Now, some of you might be saying, well, okay, that works great when you're young and you don't have kids and you both have got jobs. Well, okay, again, we were making $3,000 a month between us, minus taxes, minus everything else, living in Atlanta, Georgia, so we didn't have a lot of money, but we made that a priority. We made it a priority to say, we are going to do this. And it was interesting because that whole concept was challenged years later. We were married in '84. In '96, I decided to leave my full-time job to pursue speaking full-time as a youth speaker. Laura and I prayed about it. We decided this is where God was leading us, and so I left a job that was making, you know, pretty good money for a youth minister. And my first year of speaking, okay, I grossed $18,000. Grossed, all right? Then take out your expenses, take out your postage, take out everything that goes along with doing a business. $18,000 was the gross minus all the rest of that. In that time when we were doing this the speaking transition, we still made sure that the first thing we did every month was give that away, because we believe so strongly that the measure you give is the measure God will bless you with. And
we have really seen it time after time after time. You know, when we haven't missed paychecks, and we've been in ministry all of our life. We're definitely not starving, as you can see. And I am a firm believer that that's because we have given first, and we try to really give generously. So
now, again, you might be saying, we're in no position. We're in debt up to our eyeballs. Oh my goodness, how do we start doing this? Start small. Mm-hmm. Start small with this giving, and make a plan to give a little bit more every year until you're up to that 10%. Laura and I now are at a point where we try and give more than 10%, because we believe that's what God's calling us to do. And so give generously and watch God give back and pour back into your life.
So Rachel is asking, my fiance and I are currently not taking money as a team, talking money as a team. So how do they start doing that?
Yes, great question, Rachel. When you get married, part of your wedding vows are going to be forsaking all others, I thee wed. And one of our principles that we teach on a regular basis is that married couples are one. And it's not my money, it's not Laura's money, it's our money. And we decide how we're going to spend it, including how much discretionary funds we're going to have each month, you know, between us. Laura tells a wonderful story about a couple who decided that they could spend $50 a month without talking to their spouse about how it was spent. We know lots of people who he's got a $50 a week lunch budget because he's a businessman and he goes out to lunch every day. So there's a lot of ways to start talking about that, but that is really one of the big three. And Rachel, I will tell you this, that if you guys don't start talking about it now, it will only get harder when you get married. So have that discussion. Doesn't have to be heated. It could just be, hey, can we make a financial plan together, and see what he says? Great question.
Good. We also have a question from Linda. Laura, you should also be able to see questions now on your GoToAmerica.
Oh, I can? Okay.
Yeah. So Linda is asking, she says, my husband is not here right now, but he does not want to do bills. I have to. So what do you suggest for Linda?
Oh, boy, that's a great question.
Here's something I would like to clarify. I just want to make sure, tackling it as a team doesn't necessarily mean that you both pay the bills together, but more that you are always communicating about money. I pay our bills. Everything's done online. It's really easy that way. And it's just, I'm a little
But we do talk about our bills every month. And so that really might be where your first step, Linda, is that, he may never get really involved with the bills. But I think you can simply say to him, honey, I think it's fair that we at least talk about this every month because these are our bills and you need to know where we stand. And that's one of the things that I'm constantly asking Laura is, okay, we just had a big doctor bill. Where do we stand financially? Because we have a floor in our cash liquidity that I don't want to go below on a monthly basis, so that we have what we call our emergency fund.
Right. So yeah, not necessarily. Jay paid the bills for a long time, and then when he started traveling full time, and I was at home, it became too much for him to travel and speak and write talks and be creative and also pay bills. So that's when I took it over. But we still talk about it. We still talk about budget. We still do all that. That's tackling it as a team. But probably one of you is going to be, it's either going to be easier for you to pay bills, maybe you're more computer savvy, or it just works out that way. Now, if you're not comfortable paying the bills, if you don't enjoy doing that, or
if you're in a position where you're getting,
stressed about it,
right? If it's stressing you, then you do need to talk to him. There's no question in my mind that he needs to know the stress that you're under because you do pay the bills.
Linda does have a follow-up here, guys. She says that we do talk about them, but if he can't do it, he won't know how. I think she's got a good point there if something happens.
Yes.
That is true, and that is a reason, that is a really good reason to tackle it as a team as it would work out. There's still, I have done the house bills and done our Laugh Media bills. I don't have anything to do with Celebrate's bills, but I'm trying to begin to learn everything about Celebrate Ministries and how it runs, more than just me standing on a stage and speaking or doing a webinar, because if something were to happen, I need to understand that. I don't understand insurance. I don't understand the whole insurance side, but I'm trying, as we are having to make insurance decisions, to understand that better, so that if something does happen and I have to take care of it myself, I understand what to do.
And Linda, what maybe a place to start would be to say, honey, could we twice a year sit down for an hour and make it a real small chunk? Maybe it's even a half an hour, but paint a picture in his mind, because probably for him, if he doesn't get numbers like Laura didn't get numbers when we first got married, it was just like she was like, I don't get it, and it was a real fear for her, or a real, not understanding. And just say, honey, can we take an hour and let me explain to you how we go about the budgeting process, how we go about paying our bills, and do that once or twice a year until he starts to catch on. That really worked for Laura. It really worked for me to say, honey, I need you to just sit down with me for a little bit. I'm not going to overwhelm you, but I want to show you what's going on. So did that help, Linda?
We hope so.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, she says yes. So
Very good.
Great.
So we've got tackle as a team, give generously, and thirdly, live within the lines. This was like a swear word for Laura when we first got married.
I like that word, budget.
Budget. There is nothing more freeing than a budget. Let me give you an example, and then Laura will take it over. I love to play basketball. Used to play basketball a lot. Now I'm getting a little too old to play a lot of basketball. But one of the best things about basketball was there was a line that declared whether you were in bounds or out of bounds. I didn't hate the line. The line was there to give us guidelines to play the game of basketball properly. And when you stayed within the lines, then you could score a point because you were within the boundaries. And that's really all a budget is drawing lines that are going to be guidelines for you to live your life within. And when you stay within those lines, you're free. You're free to do a lot of fun things.
That is very true. And I remember, I did not like that word budget. And when we were young and married and we made our first budget, and there was this little line item that said discretionary funds. I was like, oh, what's that? He's like, that's money that you can spend. And
it was $2.85 a month.
It was a whole lot of money at that time. But if you want to go buy a Slurpee, you can go buy a Slurpee. And again, at first I was like, that is just really stupid. Why can't I just spend whatever I want? It was that whole education process. But when we began to save that discretionary funds and I got to buy a piece of furniture, I was ecstatic. I was like, this is so fun. And as our money increased and that $2.85 became like $20.85, and I could buy a new top or something, it was very freeing to know, you know what, this is okay. I can buy this. It's in the budget, and it really, while boundaries sometimes feel stifling, boundaries actually are very freeing, and it's why we have them in all parts of our society. Another living within the lines is, for me, as we've already shared, early on I got us in credit card debt, and I've done it more than once, but I have learned, and really realizing that this credit card is a vicious, vicious cycle. It is very, we put a lot on our credit. We put everything on our credit card that we can because it gives us airline miles, but we pay it off every month. And that has been something I have learned, because when you don't, it just piles upon piles upon piles, and you will be under this mountain of debt that will weigh so heavy on you, as opposed to living free within this boundary. And some of you may say, but how do we, credit cards are so convenient nowadays. I would totally agree with you. I was behind my sister in line one day at Meijer, and her husband's just not a big credit card or debit card person. He's cash for everything, and she's writing a check. And it was so annoying because I'm like, this is taking forever. She's like, yeah, but it keeps us on track with our money. He likes to do it that way. So there's lots of ways that you can keep track of money, lots of ideas for living within the lines. And if you don't believe me, just go to Pinterest and type in budgeting tips, and there are tons of things out there. It may be that every month you cash your paychecks and you do envelopes that say, here's our bill envelope, here's our fun money envelope, here's our gas envelope, here's our out to lunch envelope, and you live in envelopes if that's what it takes that you have to do. It may be that you use jars. It may be that you cash your checks and you pay cash for everything. But one of the ways that I have really worked at what got us into credit card debt was me going to Walmart or Target and just buying senseless stuff just because, ooh, I saw it, I had to have it.
I didn't call it senseless stuff. I called it stupid something else, but we won't go.
I now, for several years, I do not go to the grocery store without a list. I make a list, and it's so convenient on your phone. Here's the grocery list. Here's what we need. And we talk about the grocery list. Part of that is who wants what at the grocery store, so I make sure we get everything that we need. But also, what are some household items that we need? Let's put them on the list. And
we're out of toilet paper.
And I don't buy anything that's not on the list. And again, this may not always be efficient, but it's very effective, because it may mean that I have to go back to the grocery store in 2 days because we run out of something else. But I will tell you this, over Christmas break, we cleaned out our laundry room, which was where we put our Sam's stuff, and we went to Sam's and bought bulk food. We threw out more food that had expired that is not being a good steward of what God has given us in money and time. Because we'd let it expire. Because, you go to Sam's and you see these billions of mandarin oranges that you need. Well, we know now that mandarin oranges can't sit in a cabinet for more than 6 months because they get really gross looking. And again, that's living outside the lines, because it's stuff that you don't really need. And go ahead.
Let me give you a couple of words, because there's a couple of words when it comes to money that I think are misunderstood. One is spontaneity. The other is anticipation. Spontaneity, when it comes to your budget, is for things like a Slurpee, like a pizza. Let's spontaneously go spend a little bit of money. You don't spontaneously go buy a washer and a dryer or a refrigerator. These are things that you anticipate. And when you anticipate them, you can save for them. And it's just like Christmas or a birthday. That anticipation really works for you, creates a great sense of accomplishment, a great sense of feeling in you, because you've saved up and you can pay cash for whatever it is that you need. Whenever you can pay cash for something, you're going to pay less. Okay? Let me say that again. Whenever you pay cash for something, you're going to pay less. And it's because this principle is true. Money cannot stay neutral. Money is either working for you or it's working against you. Mm-hmm. And if you owe money on anything that depreciates, and basically that's anything except for your house, if you owe money on anything that depreciates, that money is working against you. Everything else, every other bit of money, including the money that you put in a house, is working for you because it's going to make more money. In other words, it's not costing you interest. It's getting you interest. And so really the mindset is our money that you need to take when it comes to living within the lines, is our money working for us or is it working against us? Because it has to be one or the other. So make that budget. Does anybody have any questions on budgeting?
Well, we do have a couple of questions that have come up. As far as budgeting questions, Kevin does ask, I haven't found a budget that works. Do you have one that you would recommend? I think
we write it out with pencil and paper, and I keep it in an Excel file on it.
I think
because I couldn't find one either.
I think Kevin's joking. Doesn't that sound like a joke? That it's hard to find a budget that works, isn't it?
There's a ton. It really comes down to answering the questions of what can we afford and what can't we afford, and some good things are going to have to go. Mm-hmm. For example, I would love to eat out lunch every day. I would love to. But I took Laura out for lunch today. Cost us $25, and we went to not a fast food restaurant, but not a really nice place. Part of it was because we got Coke, and Coke was $3, per glass. So you have to think about these things. Normally we get water with lime when we go out for lunch, but you have to think about how you're spending your money. And I used to tell Laura, you've got to quit nickel and diming us to death. It's that $5 here, it's that $10 there. And I call it the Starbucks principle. Yeah, Starbucks is great, but we can't drink it every day because it's too expensive. Well,
you can if you buy it at Meijer and put it in your own coffee pot.
Or you can do that, yes. But the budget that we use is we list out all of our income on one spreadsheet, all of our expenses on the other, and if we have more expenses than we have income, then we've got to cut something. It's painful, it's hard, but it's worth it.
Are there any other questions?
Yes. April's got a question. She says, we've been married 26 years and have never lived within our means. This point exactly right here. She says, we both have serious medical problems with many bills. Since my husband hasn't worked since 1996, I do everything. My husband's not interested in the bills. It stresses him.
I'm just, April, you are in a bad situation.
That's a tough situation.
It's very tough, and I feel badly for you because medical bills, don't get me started on, we lost our insurance with Obamacare, so don't get me started on medical bills because we get it. But the reality is this, I think you need some serious financial counseling, and I would encourage you to find a Financial Peace University class. They're free. They're absolutely free. Churches put them on. They don't do anything religious. It's just how to be financially sound and how to tackle these problems in a way that won't stress you out, because that's really what we want for you, is that money won't stress you out, so that you can focus on each other, focus on getting better, and really making the most of your life. So we could talk forever about that, but Financial Peace University, Dave Ramsey is the guy that does it. You can just Google it and find a class near you, because they're everywhere.
Good input. We have another question from Shanine. She says, how do you guys try to come to an agreement with bill paying?
We arm wrestle.
I'm not sure what exactly that question means. I pay the bills. Jay knows what all the bills are.
I think the root of this question, because a lot of guys, they want a boat, they want a motorcycle, they want a new toy, and it's going to come down between his new boat versus my new couch and love seat. Those kind of decisions is where I think she's coming from.
She's done a follow-up here. She says, we have 3 kids and we do not agree on dance bills for the girls. You guys have been there.
I hear you. I hear you. We just, first of all, we lived by the premise that our kids were only going to be involved in one thing at a time. But if you've got 3 girls and they're all 3 in dance, yeah, I feel your pain. And again, communicating as a team together that this is important to the girls, this is important for something that they do, and I know that it's expensive. And sometimes, now we live in a small town where there's only 2 dance studios, but sometimes if you have multiple family members in the dance studio, you get a break. I don't know if that applies to you, but again, dads don't always understand that dance can be important to a little girl where playing football is important to a little boy. And, you know, the little boy needs a pair of cleats, the football's provided, he gets his uniform provided, but oh my word, I can't believe how much we spent on recital costumes and all that kind of stuff. And so again, you have to talk about it, you have to discuss it, and trying to help each other understand that this is important to a little boy, this is important to a little girl.
Right. I agree 100% with Laura, and I think you've got to keep your kids in mind when you are talking about this. But I'm just going to be straightforward, Shanine, and I don't mean to sound ugly or anything, but if your girls being involved in dance is keeping you from saving for the future, or keeping you from building an emergency fund, or keeping you from going on vacation as a family, you're probably spending too much. I think what you need to do is look at the costs of dance as it pertains to your entire budget, and then compare it. Is it the same as your car payment a month? Is it the same as your grocery bill a month? If it is, then it probably needs to be reduced. If it's not, if you're saying, you know what, we spend $100 a month on dance for our girls, then your husband needs to understand that that's probably, for 3 girls, that's more than reasonable, you know.
And sometimes, I know our dance studios, you were allowed to pay monthly. So again, you know, figuring all that out.
But here's the other, you know, the other question, and it simply is a matter of priority. This is great experience for your girls. Laura and I, a number of years ago, had to sit down. I love golf, absolutely love it. In fact, in a recent podcast, I confessed that it was my God for a while. But then we took a look at what we were paying for golf every year, and it was 3%, 4% of our entire budget. And that's way too much to spend on a hobby when there are other things that could benefit both Laura and myself. So just some honest, hard questions that you need to ask each other. Great question. Great question. Any others?
Well, we do have another. This one's a hard one too. Jillian asks, what happens if the business expenses are not being covered by the business income but comes out of the household income? How long should household income cover business expenses? And Shanine says thank you, by the way. So
you're welcome, Shanine. And we'd love to hear from you on Facebook or whatever about how you and your husband work this out. Okay. Great question. What happens if the business expenses are not being covered by business income? Well, we live in Michigan, and in 2008, our state led the way through this economic downturn, and quite honestly, Michigan is just barely coming out of it now. So we can tell you firsthand about this, huh, honey?
Yes, we can. And, you know, in honest conversation, you know, there was a point that Jay and I both thought, you know, the income is not covering the expenses of the business. Maybe we need to look at different jobs. And it was a 2.5-year process of, should we be going back to school so we can get a better job? Should we be looking at, you know, applying to a church? Should we? And again, it is a hard conversation, especially if it's a business that you're passionate about, that you feel like this is what you're supposed to be doing. But the reality is, if the business isn't covering the business, and it's now coming out of your home,
living expenses,
you have children at home, now everything is tied up into one, and that is really hard, because, you know, it's a hard decision to have to make or to look at, but beginning to look at what other options you might have.
I would say this is just my rule. Okay, this was the rule that I kind of set up for myself, and so I'm not quoting any business professionals here. This is just Jay's opinion, but I would say 3 years. 3 years is the max that you should let a business take your home income. If it's starting to turn around, you know, and what's the trend? Is the trend that it's taking more and more and more every year, or it's taking the same every year? If it's taking the same every year, then you need to look at what can we cut that's that amount. and it might mean cutting personnel. It might mean we moved our office because our office was a tremendous expense during the economic downturn. We moved our office and all of our staff from a downtown office in Alma to everyone's working out of their homes. That was hugely difficult, but we had to do it to keep making ends meet. And now everybody loves working from home, so hey, it was good. So I would say to take a look at that, and 3 years would be the max. I would let it happen.
We're getting some great questions, aren't we?
Yes.
Terrific. I think we can go on to your fourth tip for the night.
Fourth and final.
This is the fun one.
Yeah.
We absolutely love this. Finally, save for someday. Okay? Save for someday. When you begin to achieve financial freedom, now I'm not saying when you get rich, okay? Because very few people are rich. But when you begin to be able to pay your bills on a regular basis and you don't have debt and you're able to save, it is amazing to start dreaming about what you can do, where you can go, what you might be able to purchase that's been a dream purchase. Grace is leaving for college this fall, and we're realizing that we're going to have at the added expense of college, but we're also going to, in 4 years, have some more freedom. And so again, it's one of those things where if we're disciplined now to help her pay for college, and we've set a certain amount that we're going to help her with, when she's out of college, we can take that money and do some pretty special things. So that's one thing. We've always taught our kids that here's our rule of thumb. Okay, I can't say it any simpler. The minimum we give is 10%. The minimum we save is 10%. And the minimum we put away for a rainy day is 10%. And then we live off of 70%. Now that is hardcore, okay? I am hardcore. Been all my life. And you can ask my wife. She didn't like it sometimes. But you know what? When our basement was flooding and we had to get it fixed, and it cost us thousands of dollars to get it fixed, we had the money because we lived off of 70% instead of living off of 100 or 110%. So that's our rule of thumb. That's what we've taught our kids, is that you give at least 10%, you save at least 10%, and you put another 10% away for that rainy day. The savings,
because life is always going to happen.
Right. You never touch the savings because that's for your retirement. That's for your long-term future. But that rainy day fund, you save for those things.
And we also have fun little things like when our kids, I would say in the last 7 or 8 years as we were coming upon, I think maybe even from 25 to 30, from our 25th wedding anniversary to our 30th, we put a jar in the kitchen, and it was called Mom and Dad's Italy jar. Because my dream was to go to Italy for our 30th.
Is to still go to Italy.
Yeah, and 30's passed, but So whenever the kids had a chore that they didn't do, they left dirty dishes in their room, they left dirty clothes on the floor, they had to put $1 in the Italy jar. Now, it ended up only having like $25 or $30 in it because they learned real quick, but I don't want to give up that money.
Softy.
But, having some fun things like that,
is,
you can just put change around. I was in our daughter's room the other day, and she has a basket about this big, and I thought it just had a bunch of name tags in it, so I picked it up thinking it was going to be really light. It has a ton of change in it, and she had just brought home, she just saves her change, randomly throws it, and she had just brought home a Pregnancy Crisis Center baby bottle fundraiser, and she's going to be able to fill that up because of all this change that she's saved. That's a very minute example of what you can do when you put that money away, and then when something happens or something maybe extra that you want to give to, something extra that you want to do, and you have that in that rainy day fund.
And when we're talking about savings for someday, we're going to go back to that statement I made about money working for you and money working for you in your retirement. I was told when I was 27 years old, I'd always been a saver, but when I was 27 years old, we moved to Alma. We were in ministry. We didn't make much money, but I sat down with a good friend who shared with me the principle of compound interest and how if you put a little bit, it's called dollar cost averaging. That means if you put a little bit of money, even if it's $20, into not a savings account, but like a mutual fund or a good bond fund, if you put that $20 a month just to start, over time, that grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. So what we do is we put a little bit away every month, and we have since I was 27. I'm 53 now, so do the math. That's what, 26 years. And when we started, I think we were putting $100 a month in, and not very much, but it's grown and grown and grown. And every 7 years, if you do compound interest, right, about every 7 years, your money doubles. So having your money work for you is a very important aspect of saving up for someday, because that someday will come sooner than you can expect. So we don't always do it perfect. Some years we don't get in as much as we should, but we try and put money in every month into our retirement fund so that we will be able to retire when we're 85. Just kidding.
Yeah.
But yeah,
We'll
it's
never
important.
retire.
That is your money working for you. When you can put some in, and the younger you are, the better off you are. And if you're not young, boy, still work on it, because the sooner you start, the better off you'll be.
So we have tackle as a team. Look, I can't even remember. I know stay within the line, save for someday. Oh, give generously. All those were the 4 tips that we have. Do you guys have any more questions before we tell you about some other things coming up?
Well, Charlene asked, how do you know what mutual funds to invest in?
We would
recommend financial planner.
We would recommend going to a financial planner. There's plenty of good ones around. I would consult with maybe some of the folks that you know. Maybe consult with some folks at your church, because finding that person you trust is huge. And for us, I want a doctor I can trust. I want a financial advisor I can trust, and I want a CPA I can trust, and I want a lawyer I can trust. That last one's kind of hard. No offense to any of you lawyers out there, but bottom line is you got to find one you can trust, and the only way to do that is to ask around. Great question.
Jillian did thank you for your help, and she did say she came in late, and what was the first point. Just so you know, Jillian, we are recording this session, and we'll post on Jay and Laura's Facebook page when the recording is available too. But Laura, do you want to go over those 4 points one more time?
Yeah, the first point was tackle as a team, handle it together, handle your money together. The second one was to give generously, make sure that you're giving to the church, to charities, to organizations, but give generously. The third one was to live within the lines. That was all about budgeting and living within your means. And the fourth was to save for someday. Dreaming, saving for retirement, rainy day funds, but saving.
Great.
Any other questions, Diane? All right.
We have a thank you. Thank you for this. We'll all see you in March in Farmington, New Mexico.
All right.
Yeah, looking forward
to come to New Mexico. Hopefully it's going to be warm when we get there. But we would like to ask you guys, if you would, any questions that come up after tonight, if you would go on our Facebook page and either private message us or post them. What we're trying to do with our weekly TV show is answer people's questions. And we know, because we've asked on Facebook, people have tons of questions about money, and we'd really like to tackle this in our TV show. So if you want to put it on the page and have other people's opinions, that's perfect. If you want to just private message us and give us permission to use it, we won't use your name, but to use it on the TV show, we'd love to do that as well, so that we can really answer people's questions who are watching the Jay and Laura TV. So if
Shanine just gave a great tip. I love this, and this is one of the things we love doing on our Facebook community and even here, is that helping each other out, because that's what we're all here for. She says we put all of our change in a 5-gallon jug. By the end of the year, we use it for spending money on vacation. What a great idea!
That's a great idea.
That's a great idea.
Thank you, Shanine. That's a great idea. Yeah, those kinds of things are perfect too on the Facebook page. So just asking that you put those questions and tips on Facebook. Another, we want to let you know that next Wednesday we have another live webinar.
Well,
we're going to give you 3 secrets.
I want to jump in before you get to that webinar, because I don't think you guys will ask for this, just because I know how humble you are. But folks, if you're enjoying tonight, if you've enjoyed the information they've shared here, The best way to get more folks to enjoy the same kind of information from Jay and Laura is for you to talk about it on their Facebook page, what they missed, if you did think it was valuable information. If you can go and post on Jay and Laura's Facebook page and just let them know what they missed and that they might want to watch the replay, because we want to reach as many folks as possible with this information.
And even share that replay when it is posted.
Yes.
If you share it to your page,
Share it on your
other
timeline.
people will
That'd be
see
great.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But next week we are going to be back with 3 secrets to successful parenting. This was the other stress in our marriages, isn't it? Is our children, and love them, but man, they can be stressful. So again, there's that link right there where you can go and register for that. It'll be same time next week, 8 o'clock, right here. We'll see ya.
So the last thing we want to talk to you about is this. Coming up in March, I believe it's March 5th, we are starting an online program where we are going to teach you the secrets to living the married life. We have put this time-tested program together. You walk out, and after, it's a 4-week program, and after the 4 weeks, each week we give you the opportunity to ask us personal questions that apply just to you. And at the end of the 4 weeks, if you sign up for the premium membership, we actually walk you through making a plan for your marriage, for the next steps in your marriage. So be looking for that. It's coming up. And in Module 1, we talk about communication. Communication in marriage is huge. We unpack 8 different ways that you need to communicate. Module 2, we have a little saying, Laura and I, it's called Gaga. We're not going to tell you what it means, but it is the secret to invigorating love into your life. Number 3, how to say the 2 most important words in the English language. The word yes and the word no. The problem is most of us don't have a way to determine what we say yes to and what we say no to. And finally, the intimacy module, where it's not just all about sex, but we discuss what true intimacy means in a marriage. So that's coming up in March. Watch out for it. You're going to love it. We really, really, really enjoy doing these things with you guys. We love the interaction. Thank you so much. Watch your Facebook. Watch your email. You'll be notified when our program is open for registration. It will be limited registration because we can only work with so many couples, but we want to be able to say to you, we want to help you discover the secrets to living the married life. So, anything else, Diane? Did we miss anything?
I think we've covered everybody. A few folks are saying thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Cindy says a longer thank you here. We use these tips currently, and it has blessed us in many ways, especially since we went through a period of being able to help others. And when it was our time of need, it came full circle. God is good all the time. Great. Lots of thank yous here. We're so glad you guys enjoyed tonight.
You guys have a great night. We'll talk to you next week on parenting.
See ya.
Bye-bye.